Bgmc. The biblical truth lives here.
The ancient Hebrew scriptures foretold of the Anointed One, Yeshua HaMashiach. The Messiah Yeshua came to call the people back to the truth of His word and to follow that righteous path. Yeshua then called Jewish men to be His disciples, and after His death and resurrection, those Jewish men told the world about the Jewish Messiah. Now, after 2,000 years, Beth Goyim Messianic congregation has that same calling of those Jewish men, telling all people, both Jew and Gentile, about the proper ancient path, teaching the Route 66 King's Highway from Genesis through to Revelation, and how you need and can get back to the proper roots of the faith and a closer walk with God. Now, let's hear the message.
Let's go get a blessing. Turn to, nope, don't turn. We're going to be studying the Feast of Hanukkah tonight for 1 week.
Vamos a estudiar el Festival de Hanukkah por una semana.
Welcome to the City Gate Messianic Bible Study, Study on Hanukkah 2019.
Bienvenido a la Puerta de la Ciudad, el estudio bíblico de la Puerta de la Ciudad. Estudio de Hanukkah 2019.
We're just going to be doing an abbreviated 1 week study.
Solamente vamos a hacer un estudio, un resumen del estudio por una semana.
If you want a full, I think we did a 6 week study.
Si quieres un estudio, creo que es de 6 semanas.
Go to our website, bgmctv.org.
Ve a nuestro sitio web, bgmctv.org.
And click on Education.
Presiones Educación.
And then click on the Hanukkah study.
Y entonces presiones en el estudio de Hanukkah.
I mean, we have to recognize Hanukkah, and you'll see why in a minute.
Tenemos que reconocer la Hanukkah y vas a ver por qué en un minuto.
Because it really does parallel what is going on around the world.
Porque en verdad hace un paralelo con lo que está sucediendo en el mundo.
And you can listen to us on WTRCradio.com.
Nos puedes escuchar en BGMC TV, no.
WTRCradio.com.
WTRCradio.com.
Or WTRCRadioMessianica.com.
O WTRC Radio Messiánica. .com.
It's not going there? It was the other day. Huh. All right, well, I'll check it. It'll be working tomorrow. All right. All right, so let's take a look at Hanukkah and see how it parallels what we're living in our society today.
Vamos a ver el estudio de Hanukkah y cómo hace un paralelo con lo que estamos viviendo hoy.
We're doing Hanukkah Prophetic Memorial Day.
Estamos haciendo el estudio de Hanukkah, un día memorial profético.
Okay, everybody make sure you're muted. Okay. Going on to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Turn to 1 Corinthians 3, verse 16 and 17.
Vamos a Primera de Corintios, capítulo 3, versículos 6 y 17.
1 Corinthians 3, verse 16 and 17.
Primera de Corintios, capítulo 3, versículos 16 y 17.
We're going to see that Hanukkah is about the temple.
Vamos a ver que Hanukkah se trata del templo.
Okay. All right, Evelyn. All right. 1 Corinthians 3, verse 16 and 17.
Primera de Corintios, capítulo 3, versículos 16 y 17.
Don't you know that you people are God's temple and that God's Spirit lives in you? So if anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him. For God's temple is holy, and you yourselves are that temple. Okay, so it's very clear in these two verses
Es bien claro en estos dos versículos
that Shaul is writing to the Corinthians,
que Shaul está escribiéndole a los corintios
and he's telling them that their body is the temple of the Lord.
y le está diciendo a ellos que sus cuerpos son el templo del Señor.
And one of the main things in the temple
Y una de las cosas principales en el templo
is the altar that you would do your offerings on.
es el altar a donde presentaban las ofrendas.
Yes, Evelyn, I checked the text. Okay. And if you're defiling your altar,
Si estás desecrando el altar,
which is your heart, your spirit,
que es tu corazón, tu espíritu,
you're going to destroy your temple.
vas a destruir tu templo.
Okay, so there's many different ways that we can destroy our temple.
Hay muchas maneras de cómo podemos destruir nuestro templo.
But one of the main things we're going to be talking about tonight
Pero una de las cosas principales que vamos a hablar esta tarde
is the altar of God.
es el altar de Dios.
Because as the altar is defiled,
Porque si el altar es profanado,
then anything you put on the altar will become defiled.
entonces lo que pongas en el altar será profanado.
So it's very important that the altar be clean and pure.
So es bien importante que el altar sea puro y limpio.
Okay, so let's read 16 and 17 again.
Vamos a leer versículos 16 y 17 nuevamente.
Don't you know that you people are God's temple and that God's Spirit lives in you? So if anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him. For God's temple is holy, and you yourselves are that temple. Amen?
Amén.
Now, remember when Shaul wrote this,
Acuérdate cuando Shaul escribió esto,
the temple had recently just been rededicated.
que el templo ha sido recientemente rededicado.
It was recent that it had been defiled.
Fue recién que se había profanado
You know, within that last 100 years or so.
entre los últimos 100 años.
So it was relatively recent history for those people.
So, relativamente fue historia reciente para esa gente.
So, you know, we're 2,000 years from the temple.
Nosotros estamos unos 2000 años después del templo.
So we don't understand what defiling a temple would be.
So, no podemos entender qué es profanar el templo.
But so we become the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh.
We become the temple.
We become, because it said God's Spirit lives in you.
Okay, vendremos a ser el templo del Ruach HaKodesh.
And when you're letting pagan things into that temple, it will be destroyed.
Y cuando estás permitiendo cosas paganas en ese templo, va a ser destruido.
All right, we're going to be moving pretty quickly in the beginning to get to the reading of 1 Maccabees.
Vamos a avanzar un poco en el principio para llegar a la lectura de primera de Macabeo.
But you're going to see in Maccabees why Shaul wrote this.
Vas a ver en Macabeos por qué Shaul escribió esto.
Let's go on to next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Let's turn to John 10, verse 22 and 23.
Vamos a ver a Juan capítulo 10 versículos 22 y 23.
John 10, Yochanan 10, verse 22 and 23.
Juan 10 versículos 22 y 23.
Okay, we have a couple of questions that we have to ask.
Tenemos un par de preguntas que tenemos que preguntar.
Does Yeshua celebrate Hanukkah?
¿Yeshua celebra Hanukkah?
And if so, why?
Y si él lo celebra, ¿por qué?
And what would be the prophetic nature of him celebrating this prophetic day?
¿Y cuál sería la naturaleza profética por qué él celebraría este día?
And how does it appear in the chapter?
¿Y cómo es que aparece en el capítulo?
Because you'll see that certain things happen before these two verses.
Porque vas a ver que ciertas cosas suceden antes de estos dos versículos.
All right, let's read verse 22 and 23.
Vamos a leer versículos 22 y 23.
Then came Hanukkah in Yerushalayim, it was winter and Yeshua was walking around inside the temple area in Shlomo's Colonnade. Amen? So you see he's there for the feast of Hanukkah.
Ves que él está ahí para la fiesta de Hanukkah.
So if somebody wants to celebrate Hanukkah,
So, si alguien quiere celebrar Hanukkah,
let them celebrate it like Yeshua was in the temple on the day of Hanukkah.
que lo celebren como Yeshua lo celebró en el templo en Hanukkah.
And you're going to see it's very important that he's in Shlomo's Colonnade or Solomon's Colonnade.
Vas a ver que él está,
Porch.
él está en el balcón de Shlomo.
Okay, yeah, porch in the other translations. Okay, so it's very clear that he's not saying anything bad about Hanukkah.
Es evidente que él no está diciendo nada malo sobre Hanukkah.
He wasn't there for Christmas.
Él no estaba ahí para la Navidad.
He wasn't there for Easter.
Él no estaba ahí para la Cuaresma.
Okay, he was there for Hanukkah, and there's a very important purpose.
Él estaba ahí para Hanukkah y es un propósito bien importante.
Okay, so when somebody says, well, we shouldn't celebrate Hanukkah.
Cuando alguien dice no debemos de celebrar Hanukkah,
Well, Yeshua was.
Yeshua lo estaba celebrando.
He was at the temple on that day.
Él estaba en el templo en ese día.
As I said, on that day.
Como dije, en ese día.
Okay, we're going to see in the reading
Vamos
that
a-
it's a single day, not 8 days.
Vamos a ver en la lectura que es un día singular, no 8 días.
So if you want to do it, you can follow Yeshua because he did it.
Si lo quieres hacer, entonces hazlo como él lo hizo porque Yeshua lo celebró.
Now let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Now let's go back up in the chapter a little bit and see how things happen before he's in Solomon's Colonnade.
Vamos a retroceder un poco en el capítulo para ver las cosas que sucedieron antes de que él estuvo en la galería de Shlomo.
Right. Okay, now back up to verse 11 and 12.
Vamos a retroceder un poco ahora a versículos 11 y 12,
Because it's a very important understanding
porque es un entendimiento bien importante
to understand why he was in the temple on Hanukkah.
para entender por qué él estaba en el templo en el día de Hanukkah.
And we'll find out later what the word Hanukkah means.
Vamos a averiguar más después qué significa la palabra Hanukkah
And why you're the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh.
y por qué tú eres considerado el templo de Ruach HaKodesh.
All right, so back up to verse 11 and 12.
Regresemos a versículos 11 y 12.
I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand, since he isn't a shepherd, and the sheep aren't his own, sees the wolf coming, abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf drags them off and scatters them. So we got to look at the order of what he says.
Tenemos que ver la orden de lo que él dijo.
So in verse 11, he says he lays down his life.
En el versículo 11 dice que él da su vida.
The good shepherd lays down the life to protect the sheep.
El buen pastor da su vida para proteger las ovejas.
What you're going to discover when you really study Hanukkah,
Lo que vas a descubrir cuando en verdad estudias Hanukkah,
and a conversation we were talking about before study,
y se enlaza con la conversación que teníamos antes del estudio.
we're talking about what's going on in the world, in the United States,
Estábamos hablando sobre lo que está sucediendo en el mundo y en los Estados Unidos.
and it's give me liberty or give me death.
Es dame libertad o dame la muerte.
It is better to die than to live as a prisoner.
Es mejor morir como libre en vez de vivir como esclavo
Okay.
o prisionero.
So when we look at verse 11,
Cuando vemos el versículo 11,
the good shepherd lays down his life to protect his flock.
el buen pastor entrega su vida para proteger su rebaño.
It's what I was teaching the children this morning in theology.
Es lo que le estaba enseñando a los niños esta mañana en teología.
Somebody kidnaps one of my family members.
alguien secuestra a uno de mis miembros de mi familia,
the Torah gives me the right to kill that person.
la Torah me da el derecho para matar a esa persona.
So if some government official wants to try to take my children,
So, si un oficial del gobierno quiere tratar de secuestrar mis hijos,
that is called kidnapping from the Bible,
eso se llama secuestro de acuerdo a la Biblia.
and I will lay down my life to protect my sheep.
Y yo entregaría mi vida para proteger mis ovejas.
But only if you have a dedicated altar.
Pero solamente si tienes un altar dedicado.
So Yeshua says he lays down his life to protect the sheep.
Yeshua dice que él entrega su vida para proteger sus ovejas.
Then verse 12,
Entonces, en el versículo 12,
he says a hired person doesn't care about the sheep.
dice que uno que es contratado no le importa las ovejas.
He sees the wolf coming and runs away from the wolf.
Él ve el lobo que viene y él huye.
Now you can only understand what he's saying,
Y solamente puedes entender lo que él está diciendo.
and this is where most of the body fails.
Y aquí es a donde la mayoría del cuerpo fracasa
Because,
miserablemente.
because in verse 22 that we read earlier,
Porque en el versículo 22, el que habíamos leído en antes,
it has everything to do with the feast of dedication, Hanukkah.
tiene todo que ver con la fiesta de dedicación de Hanukkah.
So are you willing to lay down your life
¿Estás dispuesto a entregar tu vida
to protect the things of God?
para proteger las cosas de Dios?
Or are you going to run away to protect your own life?
¿O vas a huir para proteger tu propia vida?
Are you more worried about the things of this world and material things?
¿Estás más preocupado de las cosas de este mundo y cosas materiales?
Well, many of the Jews are.
Muchos de los judíos sí.
And we're going to see this in history,
Y vamos a ver esto en la historia.
and we're going to see, and we see that most Christians don't want to rock the boat.
Y vemos que muchos cristianos no quieren
Cause problems,
causar problemas.
okay? They want to stop abortion,
Quieren detener el aborto,
but they don't want to talk about fornication.
pero no quieren hablar sobre la fornicación.
If people weren't fornicating, then we wouldn't have abortion.
Si no estuvieran fornicando, entonces no tuviéramos aborto.
Okay? So you're giving the baby away because you don't care anyway.
So, estás matando el bebé porque no te importa.
Now, all this has to do with Hanukkah, and we're going to see that in a minute.
Todo esto tiene que ver con Hanukkah y vamos a ver eso en un momento.
Okay, so we got the good shepherd
Tenemos el buen pastor
laying down his life.
entregando su vida.
We got the shepherd that sees the wolf that's coming and doesn't care.
Vemos el pastor que ve al lobo que viene y no le importa
And lets the sheep get eaten.
y deja que se coman las ovejas.
John 10, verse 22. Go to the next. Actually, go to the next slide. Before that, we get to verse 17.
Antes de llegar al versículo 22, vamos al versículo 17.
Go to John 10, verse 17.
Juan capítulo 10, versículo 17.
This is why the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. Okay? There's only one time in the Gospels
Solamente hay una vez en los evangelios
that we see the feast of dedication or Hanukkah.
que vemos el festival de dedicación o Hanukkah.
It is during this chapter of Yochanan of John.
Es en este capítulo 10 de Juan.
So it is very important to understand the order.
So es bien importante entender la orden.
So he talks about the good shepherd
Él habla sobre el buen pastor
protecting the flock.
protegiendo el rebaño.
Then he talks about the shepherds running away from the wolf
Entonces habla del pastor que huye del lobo
to save themselves but not protect the flock.
para salvarse su propia vida y no el rebaño.
Then Yeshua the Messiah talks about the Father loving him
Y después Yeshua el Mesías habla sobre el Padre que lo ama
because he's willing to lay down his life to protect the flock.
porque él está dispuesto a entregar su vida para proteger el rebaño.
And what are you willing to do to protect the flock?
¿Y qué es lo que tú estás dispuesto a hacer para proteger el rebaño?
Let's go on to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Okay. Then Turn to Luke 21, verse 16 through 19.
Vamos a Lucas capítulo 21 versículos 16 al 19.
Luke 21, verse 16 through 19.
Lucas capítulo 21 versículos 16 al 19.
Once again, there's a much more detailed study on the website where I go real slow, but I want to get to the reading of Maccabees.
Nuevamente hay un estudio bien detallado en el sitio web a donde yo voy más al paso.
Because all these gospel scriptures
Porque todas estas escrituras de los evangelios
and the Corinthian scriptures,
y la escritura de Corintios
you cannot understand
no puedes entender
until you understand First Maccabees.
hasta que entiendas Primera de Macabeo.
It is a historical book,
Es un libro histórico,
but Yeshua quotes from it.
pero Yeshua cita de ese libro.
Okay? It's a historical book,
Es un libro histórico
and you're going to understand why he says these things in Luke and in John.
y vas a entender por qué él dice estas cosas en los evangelios de Lucas y de Juan.
Okay, Luke 21, verse 16 through 19.
Lucas capítulo 21 versículos 16 al 19.
You'll be betrayed by even parents, brothers, relatives, and friends. Some of you they will have put to death, and everyone will hate you because of me. But not a hair on your head will be lost. By standing firm, you will save your lives. Okay? Now, this is somewhere around the year 33 AD.
Esto es de alrededor del año 32 o 33, la era
After the 0 year, after AD.
la era
Modern
cristiana.
era, common era, CE.
la era común.
Okay, now, why is he saying this?
¿Por qué él está diciendo esto?
You need to know your history
Necesitas saber tu historia
to understand what he's saying.
para entender lo que él está diciendo.
Because history keeps repeating itself.
Porque la historia sigue repitiéndose.
And those that don't study history are doomed to repeat it.
Y los que no estudian la historia están por repetirlo.
Because people haven't changed and Satan hasn't changed.
Porque la gente no ha cambiado y Satanás no ha cambiado.
So why did he say, you're going to be betrayed by brothers and relatives and friends?
Porque él dice que va a ser traicionado por hermanos, familias y amigos.
Why did he say, people are going to have you put to death for following the word of God?
Porque él dijo que te van a te van a matar por seguir la palabra de Dios.
And then why did he say in verse 19,
Y porque él dijo en versículo 19,
by standing firm you will save your lives?
parándote firme vas a salvar tu vida.
You have to understand what happened right before Yeshua was born.
Tienes que entender qué sucedió antes que Yeshua nació.
There's a 400-year period
Hay un periodo de 400 años
before Yeshua was born,
antes de que nació Yeshua.
from the closing of the book of Malachi
Eh,
to Matthew.
del final del libro de Malaquías a Mateo.
Where the Lord didn't speak.
A donde el Señor no habló.
Okay, there was no prophet.
No había profecía.
He's saying, now, once we do the history lesson,
Ahora hacemos esa lección de historia.
you will see, they're not even downstairs. Okay, you're going to see
Vas a ver
why he says this.
por qué él dice eso.
And it has everything to do with the temple.
Y tiene todo que ver con que tú eres el templo.
But what is on your altar in your temple?
Pero qué está sobre tu altar en el templo.
Is your altar defiled?
¿Está profanado tu altar?
Okay, so you need to understand Hanukkah to understand Luke 21.
Entonces necesitas entender Hanukkah para entender Lucas 21.
Let's go on to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Now turn to Matthew 24.
Ahora vamos a Mateo capítulo 24.
Matthew 24,
Mateo capítulo
verse
24,
15 through 20.
versículos 15 al 20.
Okay? Matthew 24,
Mateo capítulo 24,
verse 15 through 20.
versículos 15 al 20.
Now, this has everything to do with the Feast of Dedication, Hanukkah.
Esto tiene todo que ver con la fiesta de dedicación, Hanukkah.
It has to do with the prophecy in Daniel,
Tiene que ver con la profecía en Daniel,
already taken place.
que ya había ocurrido.
But Yeshua is saying that this is going to take place in the future.
Pero Yeshua está diciendo que esto va a suceder en el futuro.
But it had already just taken place a couple of hundred years before Yeshua was born as a man.
Pero esto había sucedido un par de cientos de años que Yeshua había nacido como hombre.
Okay, so Matthew 24, verse 15 through 20.
Mateo capítulo 24, versículos 15 al 20.
So when you see the abomination that causes desolation, spoken about through the prophet Dani'el, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand the allusion. That will be the time for those in Yehuda to escape to the hills. If someone is on the roof, he must not go down to gather his belongings from his house. If someone is in the field, he must not turn back to get his coat. What a terrible time it will be for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that you will not have to escape in winter or on Shabbat. Okay? So in verse 15,
So, en el versículo 15,
he's talking about a prophecy that already happened.
él está hablando sobre una profecía que ya había ocurrido.
But he's speaking about that it's going to happen again.
Pero él está hablando diciendo que va a ocurrir de nuevo.
Approximately 170 years before Yeshua was born as a little baby,
Aproximadamente 170 años antes de que Yeshua había nacido como bebé.
this event already occurred.
Este evento ya había ocurrido.
Okay? The abomination that causes desolation had already occurred.
La abominación de desolación ya había ocurrido.
Okay. Then he talks about in verse 16, running to the hills.
Y en el versículo
16.
16, él habla sobre correr hacia las montañas.
But this had already happened.
Pero esto ya había ocurrido.
Why is he saying it again?
¿Por qué él lo está repitiendo?
Why is he saying it in the future?
Porque él lo está hablando de estos sobre el futuro.
See, this is why you need to study the scriptures.
Por eso es que necesitas estudiar las escrituras.
And you need to understand the historical prophetic nature of Hanukkah.
Necesitas estudiar la naturaleza profética de Hanukkah.
Okay, because he is talking about what happened in Maccabees.
Porque él está hablando sobre lo que sucedió en Macabeos.
Okay, then to really prove that point, you go to verse 19.
Para en verdad comprobar ese punto, tienes que ir al versículo 19.
And I will read you this historical documented book. I will read you from this historical documented book
Yo te voy a leer de el libro documentado histórico
that Yeshua is paraphrasing from.
que Yeshua está paraphrasing.
Well, he's talking about really current events that happened in his
Él está hablando sobre eventos que ocurrieron en el tiempo de él.
Okay, so he says in Matthew 24, verse 19,
Mateo 24, versículo 19.
what a terrible time it will be for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Why does he say that?
¿Por qué es que él dice eso?
Wouldn't any wartime be that time?
¿No sería que el tiempo de guerra fuera ese tiempo?
Well, remember, he celebrated Hanukkah in John 10, verse 22.
Acuérdate que él celebró Hanukkah en Juan 10, versículo 22.
What is the significance of the sheep
¿Cuál es el significado del cordero?
laying down your life
The sheep of the shepherd.
laying down your life for the sheep.
Entregando tu vida para el rebaño, los corderos.
What is the significance
¿Cuál es el significado
of
o el sentido?
of seeing the wolf and running away and not protecting your sheep?
Viendo el lobo y huyendo y no protegiendo tus ovejas.
What is the significance
¿Cuál es el sentido
of laying down your life for the Father's word?
de entregar tu vida por la palabra del Padre?
What is the significance
¿Cuál es el sentido
of the families being separated
de las familias siendo separadas?
and the brother against brother, and they're going to put you to death?
Y hermano contra hermano y te van a poner a la muerte.
How does that tie together with the abomination that makes desolation?
¿Cómo es que eso se une con la abominación que causa desolación?
What does it mean to escape to the hills? Why?
¿Qué significa que vas a escapar a los montes? ¿Por qué?
And how does that tie together with pregnant women and nursing mothers?
¿Y cómo es que se une eso con mujeres preñadas y madres amamantando?
Okay, we're going to get the answers to all that in a little bit.
Vamos a llegar a las respuestas para todo eso entre un rato.
Let's go on to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Okay, Hanukkah is a rededication of the temple after it was defiled.
Hanukkah es la rededicación del templo después que fue profanado.
We are going to find out that it has nothing to do with oil lasting 8 days.
Vamos a ver que no tiene nada que ver con el aceite que dura 8 días.
Hanukkah has nothing to do with oil lasting 8 days.
Hanukkah no tiene nada que ver con aceite que dura 8 días.
It has everything to do with the rededication of the altar of a defiled temple.
Tiene todo que ver con la rededicación de un altar de un templo que fue profanado.
Let's go on to the next slide. The word Hanukkah means dedication.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva. La palabra Hanukkah significa dedicación.
Let's go on to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Okay, so a lot of people think it's, oil lasted 8 days. It was a miracle. There's even a song about it.
Dicen que Hanukkah se trata del aceite que duró 8 años. Fue un milagro y también hay una canción sobre eso.
They found a flask of oil in the temple and it was only supposed to last 1 day.
Encontraron una vasilla de aceite y solamente estaba supuesto durar un día.
And miraculously it lasted 8
Y
days.
milagrosamente duró 8 días.
It was a miracle.
Fue un milagro.
Miracle of miracles. No. No, it's not about that at all.
No, no se trata de eso.
It's about Raved staying awake for at least a half hour.
Se trata de Raved que se quede despierto por lo menos 1 hora.
His eyes are sinking quick, though. All right, go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Okay. Let's go to Exodus Shemot 29, verse 36 and 37.
Vamos a Éxodo capítulo 29, versículos 36 y 37.
Exodus Shemot 29, verse 36 and 37.
Éxodo capítulo 29, versículos 36 y 37.
Was dinner good, Joseph? Get a toothpick. Okay. Everybody got it?
Yep.
Yeah, everybody got it. All right. Each day, offer a young bull as a sin offering besides the other offerings of atonement. Offer the sin offering on the altar as your atonement for it. Then anoint it to consecrate it. 7 days you will make atonement on the altar and consecrate it. Thus the altar will be especially holy, and whatever touches the altar will become holy. Okay? So you have to have an altar that is for a specific purpose.
Necesitas un altar para un propósito específico.
And consecrating it
Y consagrarlo
is mashak, the Hebrew word mashak, H4886.
es la palabra hebrea mashach. Y es el H4886.
It means to smear,
Significa regar,
spread a liquid,
regar un líquido
and consecrate.
y consagrar.
The special oil that you do for the temple,
Hay un aceite especial que se usa para el templo.
never make this oil yourselves in the
Nunca-
proper proportions.
Nunca intentes duplicar este aceite por
Because
tu cuenta.
there's people that are selling this oil, do not buy it.
Hay gente que están vendiendo este aceite, no lo compres.
That particular oil is only for the third temple.
Ese aceite en particular es solamente para el tercer templo.
You want to anoint an altar? There's a specific way to anoint an altar that you can make.
Quiere ungir un altar,
That there's if you want to build an altar,
si quieres construir o edificar un altar,
you can consecrate that altar,
lo puedes consagrar
but with a different type of anointing, a mashak, a different.
con un tipo diferente de mashach, de consagración.
Okay, but why we're reading this is verse 37.
Porque estamos leyendo esto, está en versículo 37.
That the altar must be holy.
Que el altar debe de ser santo.
And whatever touches the altar,
Y lo que toque el altar,
that becomes the holy offering for the Lord.
eso viene siendo la ofrenda santa para el Señor.
That is the key, one of the key understandings for Hanukkah.
Ese es uno de los entendimientos claves para Hanukkah.
Now let's go to the next slide.
Ahora para la próxima diapositiva.
2 Chronicles 7.
Segundo libro de Crónicas, capítulo 7.
2 Chronicles 7, verse 9.
Segundo libro de Crónicas, capítulo 7, versículo 9.
Once again, I'm going a little fast,
Realmente estoy yendo un poquito deprisa.
but you'll understand why in a little while.
Vas a entender el porqué entre un ratito.
Okay? 2 Chronicles 7,
Segundo libro de Crónicas, capítulo 7,
verse 9.
versículo 9.
2 Chronicles 7.
Segundo libro de Crónicas, capítulo 7.
And if you want a slower study on Hanukkah, go to the website bgmctv.org.
The website, Bgmc TV.
bgmctv.org.
Si quieres un estudio detallado de Hanukkah, vea el sitio web bgmctv.org
And click on education.
y presione educación.
Okay? This year I'm just doing a quick overview and then the reading.
Este año solamente estoy haciendo un repaso y la lectura.
There's 4 years of study up there already.
Hay 4 años de estudio en el sitio web.
He's still awake. The eyes are fading now. All right. Verse 9. On the 8th day they held a solemn assembly, having observed the dedication of the altar for 7 days, as we just read, and the festival for 7 days. Okay, the word for dedication
La palabra para dedicación
that you find in verse 9
que encuentras en el versículo 9
is H2598.
es H2598.
It is called, the word is Chanukah.
La palabra es Hanukkah.
Okay,
Hanukkah.
so you know, lots of people quote 2 Chronicles 7:14.
Mucha gente citan segundo de Crónicas 7, capítulo 7, versículo 14.
If my people are called by my name would humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways, then I would heal from heaven and heal their land. Yes, sir. Woo, I'm just slain in the spirit. Receive it. Put your hand up to the camera and receive the power. Okay, sorry. I'm getting Jimmy Swagger. Oh, look, Josh is slain in the spirit. Elba's all slain in the spirit over there. All right. So here, you cannot turn from your wicked ways.
Aquí tú no puedes.
You cannot turn from your wicked ways.
No puedes apartarte de tus caminos malvados.
Until you first clean out the house.
Hasta que primero limpies la casa.
You got to dedicate the house first.
Tienes que dedicar la casa primero.
That's why you're the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh.
Por eso que eres el templo del Ruach HaKodesh.
So here they built the temple,
Aquí construyeron el templo
and they had the dedication of the altar for 7 days.
y tuvieron la dedicación del altar por 7 días.
And on the 8th day,
Y en el 8º día, un día,
they had a sacred assembly.
tuvieron una asamblea sagrada.
Okay? And they dedicated the altar. Dedication is Hanukkah.
Y dedicaron el altar y es Hanukkah.
Let's go on the next slide.
Y la próxima diapositiva,
Let's go back to the Gospel of Matthew,
regresemos al Evangelio de Mateo,
chapter 23.
capítulo 23.
Matthew 23,
Mateo capítulo 23,
verse 17 through 22.
versículos 17 al 22.
Oh, they are here. I hear the
Yeah.
stop raining and it's just cold out. Okay, Matthew 23,
Mateo capítulo 23,
verse 17 through 22.
versículos 17 al 22.
You didn't turn to it. You didn't even open up your phone, you in the green shirt. You blind fools! Which is more important, the gold or the temple which makes the gold holy? And you say, if someone swears by the altar, he is not bound by his oath. But if he swears by the offering on the altar, he is bound. Blind men, which is more important, the sacrifice or the altar which makes the sacrifice holy? So someone who swears by the altar swears by it and everything on it. And anyone who swears by the temple swears by it and the one who lives in it. And someone who swears by heaven swears by God's throne and the one who sits on it. So let's go back to verse 19.
Regresemos al versículo 19.
Go back to verse 19.
Regresemos al versículo 19.
Blind men, which is more important, the sacrifice or the altar which makes the sacrifice holy? It's very important to understand that.
Es bien importante entender esto.
That is a very important key.
Esto es una clave bien importante.
The altar is what makes the sacrifice holy.
El altar es lo que hace el sacrificio santo.
Okay, you have to have a clean altar.
Necesitas tener un altar limpio.
Okay? Then what you put on it,
Entonces lo que pones encima de él,
as long as it fits the kosher criteria,
mientras sea como que tenga el criterio kosher,
because you can't put pig on it and expect the altar to not be defiled.
porque no puedes poner cerdo y no esperar que el altar no se profane.
Okay, so it's very important
Es bien importante
that Yeshua is saying that the altar is what makes the sacrifice holy.
Yeshua está diciendo que es el altar que hace que el sacrificio sea santo.
Okay, let's move to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Now we need a little history lesson.
Ahora necesitamos una lección de historia.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through the history lesson.
Ahora vamos a hacer el estudio de historia.
The book of Malachi ends about 400 years before Messiah comes to earth as a man.
El libro de Malaquías se cierra unos 400 años antes de que Yeshua llegue a la tierra como hombre.
So between Malachi and Matthew, there's a 400-year period.
So, entre el libro de Malaquías y el Evangelio de Mateo hay un periodo de 400 años.
Which is called the dark period.
Que se llama el periodo oscuro.
Some people call it the dead period.
Hay algunos que lo llaman el periodo muerto.
Because there was no prophecy being spoken.
Porque no había profecía en ese tiempo.
Okay, so Malachi ends about 397 years before Yeshua.
Malachi termina por lo menos 397 años antes de Yeshua.
Okay, so there were no signs,
So no había señales.
and people were saying, how much longer will we wait for the Lord to speak?
Y la gente estaban ya preguntando cuánto más vamos a esperar que el Señor hable.
Turn to Psalm 74, verse 10.
Vamos a Salmo 74, versículo 10.
Psalm 74, verse 10.
Salmo 74, versículo 10.
Psalm 74, verse 10.
Salmo 74, versículo 10.
How much longer, Elohim, will the foe jeer at us? Will the enemy insult your name forever? Okay, so this is the beginning of a very bad period of time.
Este es el comienzo de un periodo bien malo en el tiempo.
And, we're heading for a period like that.
Y estamos avanzando a un periodo igual que eso.
Okay, because we're going to see parallel what's going on in this time period.
Vamos a ver que va a haber un paralelo de lo que estamos viendo en este periodo.
And the enemy is very bold right now.
Y el enemigo es bastantemente franco.
What were you saying? Hallmark was running their gay advertisement again?
Yeah, Hallmark está mostrando su anuncio de una pareja gay que se está casando.
The government is trying to force parents to vaccinate their children.
El gobierno está tratando de forzar que los padres vacunan sus hijos.
How about I forcibly circumcise you?
Vamos a ver si yo te circuncido a la fuerza.
We're going to see it was done once before.
Vamos a ver que fue hecho una vez antes.
You want to try the vaccination? The circumcision without any anesthesia.
Quiere hacer las vacunas, pues vamos a hacer las circuncisiones sin anestesia.
I'm going to use my old Boy Scout knife. It's not very sharp.
Voy a usar mi cuchilla de Boy Scout que no tiene buen filo.
It may hurt you.
Tal vez te duele a ti.
But even when you're screaming, I won't hear you because I'll have all my gun ear protection on.
Aunque esté gritando, voy a tener protección de oídos que no te voy a escuchar.
What? Is he screaming? Okay. So let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Okay. Now, why did God leave?
¿Por qué fue que Dios se fue?
Okay. Why did he leave for 400 years?
¿Por qué él se fue por 400 años?
Well, before that,
Antes de eso,
God gave us a chance to repent.
Dios nos dio una oportunidad para arrepentirnos.
And you have the whole book of Jeremiah to show you what progresses.
Y tienes el libro de Jeremías para que veas lo que es el progreso.
So the Babylonian captivity
El cautiverio babilónico
was from the year 606 to 586 before Yeshua.
era del año 606 hasta el año 586 antes de Yeshua.
That was 606 to 586 before Yeshua.
Eso era 606 a 586 antes de Yeshua.
And why did this happen?
¿Y por qué sucedió esto?
You're unfaithful to God.
Porque cuando no le eres infiel a Dios,
Jehovah gives you over to his enemy.
Jehová te entrega a su enemigo
And you get punished.
y eres castigado.
And you get punished
Y eres castigado
for being unfaithful.
por ser infiel.
And that lasted for 70 years.
Y eso duró por 70 años.
And the Babylonian Empire rose up to
Y el imperio babilónico se levantó para ser el imperio gobernante.
But then after the Babylonian,
Pero después de los babilonios,
the Medo-Persian Empire rises
Persia Media se levantó
with Cyrus,
con Cyrus,
okay, the Persian emperor.
el emperador pérsico, right?
Okay, just deal with it.
Okay.
Okay, and that's where you get the book of Nehemiah.
Ahí es que obtenemos el libro de Nehemías
and the book of Ezra.
y el libro de Ezra.
And the Jews get to return back in 536 before Yeshua.
Y los judíos regresan en el año 536 antes de Yeshua.
Okay, this is all historical documentation that you can look up besides Wikipedia.
De todo esto es documento histórico que pueden ustedes mismos leer, que no es solamente en Wikipedia.
This is one of the, you can look up all this information.
Puedes buscar toda esta
I
información.
have thousands of pages of documentation.
Miles de páginas de documentación.
So the Jews come back, but they're not really worshiping God.
So, los judíos regresan, pero en verdad no están adorando a Dios.
Sounds like what's going on in Tel Aviv right now.
Suena como lo que está sucediendo en Tel Aviv ahora mismo.
Sounds like what's going on in the French are returning to Israel, but they're not wanting worshiping God.
Suena igual que los judíos franceses están regresando a Israel, pero no quieren adorar a Dios.
The Dominicans are returning, but we can't send them back because there's a wall.
Los dominicanos están regresando, pero no lo podemos regresar para atrás porque hay una pared.
All right, next
Hay
slide.
un muro.
More history lesson.
Más lecciones históricas.
Okay, now after the Babylonian captivity,
Después del cautiverio babilónico,
the Persian Empire is the ruler of the earth.
el imperio pérsico es el gobernante de la tierra.
And the temple in Jerusalem is restored, but it's a lot smaller.
El templo en Jerusalén está restaurado, pero es más pequeño.
It's not the temple that Solomon built, it's much smaller.
No es el templo que Salomón edificó, es más pequeño.
And we get a lot of bad kings.
Y tenemos muchos reyes malos.
Okay? So you need this information that I'm going to go over,
Necesita esta información que voy a repasar,
because a lot of people love to destroy the Jewish people. They didn't see their own Messiah.
mucha gente le gustan destruir al pueblo judío con que ellos no pudieron ver su propio Mesías.
They're like the Christians today.
Son como los cristianos en el día de hoy.
If Messiah came back today, the Christians wouldn't recognize their own Messiah.
Si el Mesías regresara hoy día, los cristianos no reconocieran a su propio Mesías.
Oh, you go to temple on Saturday? We don't do that.
Tú vas al templo los sábados, nosotros no hacemos eso.
They wouldn't even recognize their own Messiah.
No reconocieran su propio Mesías.
He's wearing those strings that the Jews wear.
Él tiene esos flecos que usan los judíos.
He's got a beard. What, are you in bondage?
Tiene una barba que está en cautiverio.
He's wearing one of those prayer shawls. Oh, those are nice.
O tiene uno de esos
Those are nice.
bueno,
They're pretty.
tiene uno de esos talís, son nice.
Okay. So you need all this information when you get to the book of Matthew.
Necesita toda esta información para cuando llegues al Evangelio de Mateo.
Because the leadership is not really the proper line anymore.
El liderazgo no es el lineaje correcto ya.
The kings are not the proper line anymore.
Los reyes no son el lineaje correcto ya.
The priesthood doesn't know what they're doing anymore.
El sacerdocio no sabe lo que están haciendo ya.
So let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Now, the Roman Empire is now raised up.
Ahora se levanta el imperio romano.
And the Roman Empire is now taken over most of the civilized world.
Y el imperio romano se ha apoderado de la mayoría del mundo civilizado.
Now, the power of the world is switched from the east. Now it is in Rome.
¿De what?
The power of the world
El poder del mundo ya no está en el este, ha llegado a Roma.
and Rome is the center of the world.
Y Roma es el centro del mundo.
Israel is back in the land,
Israel ha regresado a la tierra,
but they are under occupation from the Romans.
pero están bajo ocupación de los romanos.
Okay? The king in Israel
Israel
is a descendant of Esau instead of Jacob.
Ahora Israel es descendiente de Esaú en vez de Jacob.
Very key point. You might want to write that for your notes.
Un punto bien clave. Quizás quiera escribir esto para tus notas.
Herod is not from Jacob.
Herodio
He is from Esau.
no es de Jacob, él es de Esaú.
So he's ruler, he's a king in Israel.
Él es el gobernante de Israel.
But he's underneath the Caesar.
Pero está por debajo de César.
And now the priesthood
Ahora el sacerdocio
is not from Aaron's line anymore
tampoco es del linaje de Aarón.
because they've been dispersed and they've been now put by the government.
Han sido dispersados y ahora están puestos en posición por el gobierno romano.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
During the 400-year period,
Durante el periodo de 400 años,
during that 4 centuries,
durante esos 4 siglos,
there were 6 time periods in different occupation.
habían 6 ocupaciones en diferentes tiempos.
There was the Persian occupation,
Habían los persios,
then the Greeks,
después los griegos,
the Egyptian occupation,
la ocupación de Egipcio,
the Syrian occupation,
la ocupación de Siria.
then the Maccabees came,
Entonces entraron los macabeos
then the Romans.
y entonces los
I'll
romanos.
say that again.
Voy a repetir eso.
6 groups of people before Messiah Yeshua was born.
6 gobiernos diferentes antes de que naciera Yeshua.
Persian,
Persia,
Greek,
griego,
Egyptian,
egipcio,
Syrian,
Siria,
the Maccabees,
los macabeos,
those were the Jews,
esos eran los judíos,
then the Romans.
entonces los romanos.
Okay? It's very important to know that.
Bien importante saber eso.
Now we're going to go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Okay? The 4th period, the Syrian period,
El cuarto periodo, el periodo siriano.
this is important to know because Yeshua quotes this happening. It's the prophecy that already happened.
Es bien importante saber esto porque Yeshua cita esta ocurrencia, este momento que pasó.
But he talks about it in a future tense.
Pero él habla sobre esto en un tenso futuro.
In the year 175 to 164 before Yeshua,
En el año 175 al 164 antes de Yeshua,
Antiochus Epiphanes ruled the earth.
Antíoco Epifaneo gobernó la tierra.
And it's a time period called the Reign of Terror
Y fue un tiempo que se llamaba el reino de terror,
that fell upon the...
que cayó sobre los judíos.
In the year 170 before Yeshua,
En el año 170 antes de Yeshua,
Jerusalem fell to Antiochus.
Jerusalén cayó en manos de Antíoco.
The walls were torn down.
Los muros fueron derrumbados.
The temple was desecrated.
El templo fue profanado.
Sacrifices were abolished.
Los sacrificios fueron abolidos.
The Holy of Holies was stripped of all its holy ornaments,
El lugar santísimo fue,
holy equipment.
todo el equipo santo fue sacado del lugar santísimo.
Judaism was banned,
El judaísmo fue prohibido.
and here's your key.
Y aquí está tu clave.
A pig sacrifice was done on the altar.
Un sacrificio de un cerdo fue hecho sobre el altar.
And the temple in Jerusalem
Y el templo en Jerusalén
was rededicated to Jupiter Olympus,
fue rededicado a Júpiter Olimpio,
with a statue of Jupiter erected on top of the altar.
con una estatua de Júpiter que fue levantado o construido sobre el altar.
Now, all this information I've got given to you, I have at least 5 sources for each area.
Cada esta información que yo te estoy dando, tengo por lo menos 5 cinco lugares a donde te puedo mostrar esto.
So please don't send me some stupid emails this year.
So, por favor, no me envíen correos electrónicos estúpidos de este año.
Unless you do your research and then we can have a good discussion in English.
A menos que haga tu propia búsqueda y podemos tener una conversación civil en inglés.
This is all well documented.
Todo esto está bien documentado.
So, we have Jupiter Olympus
Tenemos a Júpiter Olimpio
on top of the altar
sobre el altar
that was supposed to be dedicated to God.
que estaba supuesto ser dedicado a Dios.
They had pig sacrifices and put pig's blood in the temple.
Tuvieron sacrificios de cerdo y pusieron sangre de cerdo en el templo.
And they had homosexual sex in the temple.
Y tuvieron sexo homosexual en el templo.
Yeah. Sounds like a little bit like today.
Suena como algo parecido en el día de hoy.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Okay, so Antiochus provoked the Jews,
Antíoco provocó a los judíos
and a Jew named Mattathias raised up.
y un hombre que se llama Matatías se levantó.
And we're going to read what happened with Mattathias and the Maccabees.
Vamos a leer lo que sucedió con Matatías y los macabeos.
And the Maccabees recapture the temple.
Los macabeos recapturaron el templo
And they recaptured the temple on the 25th day of Kislev. Or they rededicate the temple on the 25th day of Kislev.
y ellos tomaron posesión y rededicaron el templo en el 25 de Kislev,
Which is this Sunday evening.
que es este domingo por la tarde.
And that's why Yeshua was in the temple in John 10, verse
Y
22.
por eso que Yeshua estaba en el templo en Juan 10:22.
Because he was celebrating the rededication of the temple.
Porque él estaba celebrando la rededicación del templo.
Now you are the temple of God.
Ahora tú eres el templo de Dios.
Do you run away from the wolf?
¿Tú huyes al lobo
Or do you stand and fight?
o te paras firme y peleas?
All right, let's read what happened.
Vamos a leer lo que sucedió.
Next slide.
Próxima diapositiva.
Now we're going to read a little bit of a historical book
Vamos a leer un poco de un libro historial,
called
histórico,
the Book of Maccabees.
que se titula El libro de Macabeos.
It is not scripture.
No es escritura.
It is a historical book confirmed by other historical documentation.
Es un libro histórico que está confirmado por otras documentaciones históricas.
But we're going to read about what happened,
Vamos a leer sobre lo que sucedió.
which is why Yeshua quoted these things in the Gospels that we read.
Es porque Yeshua citó esto en los evangelios que terminamos de leer.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
I'm sorry I'm only going to read this in English, but I'm going to talk about it.
Perdona que solamente voy a leer esto en inglés, pero vamos a hablar sobre esto.
I'm going to read 1 Maccabees chapter 1,
Voy a leer Primera de Macabeos, capítulo 1,
verse 11 through 15.
versículos 11 al 15.
If you go to esword.com,
Si vas a
.com, I think. No, .net.
esword.net,
You can download a King James with Apocrypha, and you can read this for yourself.
puedes descargar a la Biblia King James con el apócrifa y puedes leer eso por ti mismo.
I actually prefer the revised version myself. It reads much better.
Prefiero la versión revisada que lee mejor.
Okay? So verse 11 through 15.
Versículos 11 al 15.
In those days, certain renegades came out from Israel and misled many, saying, "Let us go and make a covenant with the Gentiles around us. For since we separated from them, many disasters have come upon us." This proposal pleased them, and some of the people eagerly went to the king, who authorized them to observe the ordinances of the Gentiles. So they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem, according to the Gentile custom, and removed the marks of circumcision, and abandoned the holy covenant. They joined with the Gentiles and sold themselves to do evil. Wow. Sounds a little bit like Israel today.
Suena un poco como Israel hoy en día.
Sounds like a little bit like most countries.
Suena como la mayoría de países.
And it sounds like most of the Jews in America.
Y suena como la mayoría de judíos en América.
My sister does nothing, she runs from Judaism.
Mi hermana, ella le huye al judaísmo.
So they in verse 11, they make a covenant with the Gentiles.
En el versículo 11 hacen un pacto con los gentiles.
Because they say, since we separated from them, bad things have happened.
Porque dijeron que desde que nos separamos de ellos, cosas malas no han sucedido.
No, it's when you separate from God, bad things happen.
No, es cuando te separas de Dios es que suceden las cosas malas.
And then they went to their king,
Y fueron a su rey.
and he said, yes, go make friends with the Gentiles.
Y él dijo, sí, hagan amistades con los gentiles.
Wait,
Espera,
where's Marty?
¿a dónde está Marty?
Wait.
Pues,
So the king said to go make friends with the Gentiles?
el rey dijo que fueran y hicieran amigos con los gentiles.
Didn't Jehovah say we're supposed to live separated?
Jehová no nos dijo que teníamos que ser separados.
So you see what I was telling you about
So
before in the history?
¿Ves lo que te estaba diciendo antes de la historia?
That the kings became less and less Hebrew and became more like the Goyim.
Que los reyes vinieron a ser menos y menos hebreos y se hicieron más como los goyim.
And this is the key verse in verse 14, 1 Maccabees 1:14.
Y este es un verso clave en 1 Macabeos capítulo 1 versículo 14.
They built a gymnasium in Jerusalem according to the Gentile custom.
Construyeron un gimnasio en Jerusalén de acuerdo a la costumbre gentil.
Well, people are thinking like nowadays. I go to the gym.
La gente está pensando como hoy en día, yo voy al gimnasio.
No, this is a San Francisco gym.
No, este es un gimnasio de San Francisco.
When they played games, all the men played naked.
Cuando hacían juegos, todos los hombres jugaban desnudos.
They bathed together
Se bañaban juntos
and did things like they do in Tel Aviv.
y hacían cosas como hacen en Tel Aviv.
Just go to the Hallmark channel and watch the Hallmark commercial.
Vea el canal de Hallmark y miren el anuncio de Hallmark.
Yes, faggots.
Sí, maricas.
That's why we need to study this.
Por eso que necesitamos estudiar esto.
Because another Daniel prophecy
Porque otra profecía de Daniel
is the anti-Messiah will not know natural love.
es el antimesías, no va a conocer el amor natural.
He will be gay.
Él va a ser homosexual.
Those that don't study history
Aquellos que no estudian la historia
are doomed to repeat it.
lo van a repetir.
Oh, it's about oil that lasted 8 days.
Se trata del aceite que duró 8 años.
Nope.
Nah.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Now I'm going to read you 1 Maccabees chapter 1 verse 20 to 24.
Ahora vamos a leer 1 Macabeos capítulo 1 versículos 20 al 24.
So now God is angry with his people,
Ahora Dios está enojado con su pueblo
and he allows his enemy to come into his promised land.
y él permite que su enemigo entre a su tierra prometida.
After subduing Egypt, Antiochus returned in the 43rd year. He went up against Israel and came to Yerushalayim with a strong force. He arrogantly entered the sanctuary and took the golden altar, the lampstand for the light, and all its utensils. He also took the table for the bread of the presence, the cups for the drink offering, the bowls, the golden censer, the curtain, the crowns, and the gold decorations in the front of the temple. He stripped it all off He took the silver and gold and costly vessels. He took also the hidden treasure that he found. Taking them all, he went into his own land. He shed much blood and spoke with great arrogance. Amen? So when the covenant people want to make themselves look like Gentiles,
So, cuando el pueblo del pacto quiere parecer como los gentiles
and you do abominable practices,
y hace prácticas abominables,
it isn't that Antiochus was so great,
no era que Antíoco era tan grande,
is that God made his people so low.
es que Dios hizo de su pueblo bajo.
You want to be like Gentiles?
¿Quiere ser como gentiles?
You don't want to follow my customs?
¿No quiere seguir mis costumbres?
Here, I'll give you to the Gentiles who will treat you like dogs.
Aquí te entrego a los gentiles que te van a tratar como perros.
Antiochus was worshiping Jupiter.
Antíoco estaba adorando a Júpiter.
How could he take down the temple?
¿Cómo es que él pudo derrumbar el templo?
Well, because God left.
Porque Dios se había ido.
And that's what's happening here in America.
Y eso es lo que está sucediendo aquí en América.
And in Colombia.
Y en Colombia.
And lots of countries in South America.
Y en muchos países en Sudamérica.
But there are people beginning to stand up.
Pero hay gente que sí se están empezando a parar firme.
But if you don't stand with God, you're standing against Him.
Pero si no te paras firme con Dios, vas a estar parado en contra de Dios.
Let's go on to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Let's read 1 Maccabees chapter 1 verse 30 to 34.
Vamos a 1 Macabeos capítulo 1 versículos 30 al 34.
Because this is what's going to happen next.
Porque esto es lo que va a suceder lo próximo que va a suceder.
Those that don't study history
Aquellos que no estudian la historia
to repeat it.
están por repetirlo.
Deceitfully he spoke peaceful words to them, and they believed him, but he suddenly fell upon the city, dealt a severe blow, and destroyed many people of Israel. He plundered the city, burned it with fire, tore down its houses and its surrounding walls. They took captive the women and children and seized the livestock. Then they fortified the city of David with a great strong wall and strong towers, and it became their citadel. And you still see the Tower of David today.
Y todavía puedes ver la Torre de David hoy en día.
So when you break God's covenant,
Cuando quebrantas el pacto de Dios,
they're going to speak peaceful words,
van a hablar palabras pacíficas,
like the peace accord today made by an Arab country.
como el acuerdo de paz que fue hecho hoy por un país árabe.
And then, peace, peace, but there will be no peace.
Paz, paz, pero no habrá paz.
And ladies, you might want to look at verse 32.
Y mujeres, quisiera mirar el versículo 32.
Tiffany, you might want to look at verse 32.
Quisiera mirar el versículo 32.
Lev and Mia, you might want to look at verse 32.
Quisiera mirar el versículo 32.
Hadassah, Nana, and Sandra, Anna, Liz, and Elizabeth. You might want to listen real close to verse 32.
Quisieran escuchar con atención al versículo 32.
This is one of the reasons you need to pray for the men of the society.
Por eso es una de las razones porque deben de orar por los hombres de esta sociedad.
They took captive the women and children. They took captive. 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 No, it's not that. That's how we broke. They took captive. Now they're turning off their system. They took captive the women and the children.
Tomaron cautivos las mujeres y los niños.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again. Hurry, you stupid piece of crap, Satan. I'll say it until it gets through.
Amén.
You stupid piece. I'm going to say it until it gets through. They took. All right, this is one of the projects we're doing Saturday after Shabbat is over.
There we go.
They took captive the women and children.
Tomaron cautivas las mujeres y los niños.
This is what Hanukkah is about.
De esto es lo que se trata Hanukkah.
Not some stupid fairy tale that oil lasted 8 days.
No un cuento estúpido que el aceite duró 8 días.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
1 Maccabees 1, 35 to 40.
Primera Macabeos capítulo 1 versículos 35 al 40.
And they stored up arms and food, collecting the spoils of Jerusalem. They stored them there and became a great menace. For the citadel became an ambush against the sanctuary, an evil adversary of Israel at all times. On every side of the sanctuary they shed innocent blood. They defiled the sanctuary. Because of them, residents of Jerusalem fled. She became a dwelling of strangers. She became a stranger to her offspring, and her children forsook her. Her sanctuary became desolate like a desert. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Shabbats into a reproach, her honor into contempt. Her dishonor grew as great as her glory, and her exaltation was turned into mourning. Let's look at verse 37.
Vamos a mirar el versículo 37.
They spilled blood on every side of the sanctuary.
Derramaron sangre en cada lado del santuario.
And the key is they even defiled the sanctuary.
Y la clave es que hasta profanaron el santuario.
Once you study what that means,
Cuando estudias lo que significa eso,
one, they praised all these idol gods.
Uno alabaron y adoraron a todos esos dioses ídolos.
And they have homosexual orgies inside the sanctuary.
Y tenían orgías homosexuales adentro del santuario.
Sounds a little bit like San Francisco,
Suena un poco como San Francisco,
Tel Aviv,
Tel Aviv,
Paris,
París, Suecia,
Norway.
Norway. ¿Ah? Noruega.
Okay, then the Lord says, you didn't want to do my feast?
Y como el Señor dice, como no quería celebrar mis fiestas,
They're going to be mourning to you now, like sadness.
Van a estar en luto ahora.
And since you didn't care about Shabbat,
Y como no te importó el Shabbat,
then I'm going to take it away from you anyway.
entonces te lo voy a quitar.
Next slide.
Próxima diapositiva.
This isn't the Hanukkah I know.
No, este no es el Hanukkah que yo conozco.
This isn't the Hanukkah I know.
Este no es el Hanukkah que conozco.
They didn't tell me about this in yeshiva.
Ellos no me explicaron esto en yeshiva.
I thought it was about dreidels and chocolate
Yo creía que era sobre chocolate y dreidels.
and 8 crazy nights.
Y 8 noches locas.
Adam Sandler sings about it.
Adam Sandler canta sobre eso.
No.
Nah.
Now we're going to read 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 4.
Ahora vamos a leer 1 Macabeos, capítulo 1, versículos 41 al 61.
41 to 61.
41 al 61.
Well, we're going to read 41 to 49.
Vamos a leer actualmente del 41 al 49.
The king wrote to his whole kingdom, this is the pagan king, that all should be one people, and that all should give up their particular customs. All the Gentiles accepted the command of the king. Many, even from Israel, gladly adopted his religion. They sacrificed the Shabbat and they sacrificed to idols and profaned the Shabbat. And the king sent letters by messenger to Jerusalem, and expected them to follow the customs strange in the land, to forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drinks offerings, to profane the Shabbats and festivals, to defile the sanctuary, to build altars and sacred precincts and shrines for idols, to sacrifice swine, to to sacrifice swine and other unclean animals, and to leave their sons uncircumcised. They were to make themselves abominable by everything unclean and profane, so that they would forget the law and change the ordinances. Sounds a little bit like Christianity.
Suena un poco como el cristianismo.
They don't circumcise their children.
Ellos no circuncidan sus hijos.
Sacrifice swine on Christmas.
Ellos sacrifican el cerdo en la Navidad.
They do customs that are strange to the Bible.
Hacen costumbres que es extraño a la Biblia.
And the Jews went along with this.
Y los judíos estaban de acuerdo con esto.
Sounds like a lot of the body today.
Suena como mucho del cuerpo hoy en día.
And they make themselves abominable by living unclean lives.
Y se hacen abominables viviendo vidas impuras.
And they forget the law.
Y se olvidaron de la ley, se olvidan de la ley.
And change the ordinances.
Cambian las ordenanzas.
They change the ordinances.
Cambian las ordenanzas.
So the church.
So la iglesia.
Change the ordinances.
Cambió las ordenanzas. Todas las ordenanzas.
Hanukkah.
So cambiaron Hanukkah por Navidad. Por la Navidad.
Christmas.
Shut it off and turn it back.
No, it won't do it. It's just I got to move the antenna. That's what I got to do because it's when they turn once their system is on and they find their frequency. It's because their antenna is closer than mine. So I'm going to change the position of my antenna, and I'm doing that this week.
Okay.
I'm not doing crap anymore because they changed the ordinances downstairs.
Porque ellos cambiaron las ordenanzas abajo.
And I'm going to sanctify this temple.
Y yo voy a santificar este templo.
Going on to next slide.
La próxima diapositiva.
In 1 Maccabees chapter 1 verse 54.
En Primera Macabeos capítulo 1 versículo 54.
Now on the 15th day of the Kislev in the 140th year they erected a desolation sacrilege on the altar of the burnt offering. So here on the first day, on the 15th day,
Ahora en el día 15 de Kislev,
which is this month that we're living in,
que es este mes en el cual estamos ahora,
in the 145th year,
en el año 145,
they put up Jupiter in the temple.
Levantaron a Júpiter en el templo.
Put him on top of the altar.
Y lo pusieron a él sobre el altar.
Going to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Verse 57.
Versículo 57.
Anyone found possessing the book of the covenant, and anyone who adhered to the law, was condemned to death by decree of the king. So if you possessed a Torah scroll,
So si tenías en tu posesión un rollo de Torah,
hey, that's happening in China today.
eso está sucediendo en la China hoy en día.
You possess a Bible, you can die.
Si estás en posesión de una Biblia, puedes morir.
Happening in Africa.
Está sucediendo en África.
Now, remember you. Remember Yeshua said it would be a terrible time for nursing mothers.
Acuérdate que Yeshua dijo que iba a ser un tiempo bien malo para madres que estaban amamantando.
Now, why did he say that?
¿Por qué fue que él dijo esto?
It comes It comes from First Maccabees,
Viene de Primera Macabeos,
chapter 1,
capítulo 1,
verse 60 and 61.
versículos 60 y 61.
First Maccabees,
Primera Macabeos,
chapter 1,
capítulo 1,
verse 60 and 61.
versículos 60 y el 61.
Now, this is anybody found holding a Bible.
Esto es si encuentran a cualquiera con una Biblia.
According to the decree of death, the women who had their children circumcised, families and their families, come on, and their families circumcised them, and they hung the infants from their mothers' necks. I'm going to read it again. I don't care if we don't get through the whole thing. Just take our time, people.
Amén.
Satan's trying to stop the communication. It's one of the parts of prayer. He's trying to disrupt communication. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 60 and 61.
Primera Macabeos capítulo 1 versículos 60 y 61.
According to the decree, they put to death the women who had their children circumcised, and their families, those who circumcised them, and they hung the infants from their mothers' necks. This is why Yeshua said it'll be a terrible time for pregnant women and nursing mothers.
Por eso fue que Yeshua dijo que sería un tiempo horrible para madres que amamantean y mujeres que estuvieran preñadas.
Now this happens
Esto sucede.
145 years before Yeshua came to earth.
Esto sucedió 145 años antes de que Yeshua llegara a la tierra.
So Yeshua said that in around 31 or 32 AD.
Yeshua dijo eso en 31, 32 en la era común.
You see why you need a history lesson.
Por eso ves por qué necesitas la lección de historia.
Let's go on to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Now we get into why you got to run to the hills.
Ahora vamos a ver por qué hay que correr hacia las montañas.
First Maccabees 2, verse 1 through 6.
Primera Macabeos capítulo 2 versículos 1 al 6.
In those days, Mattathias, the son of Yochanan, son of Ben Shimon, son of Simeon, a priest of the family of Jorib, moved from Jerusalem and settled in Modin. He had 5 sons, Yochanan, surnamed Gadi, Shimon, called Thasai, Yehuda, called Maccabeus, Elazar, called Avaran, and Yonatan, called Aphas. He saw the blasphemies being committed in Yehuda and Jerusalem and said, "Alas, why was I born to see this, the ruin of my people, the ruin of the holy city, to live there when it was given over to the enemy, and the sanctuary given over to aliens. Her temple has become like a person without honor." So this is why Yeshua said in the gospel.
Por eso es que Yeshua dijo en el Evangelio.
Gospel of John,
El Evangelio de Juan,
chapter 10.
capítulo 10.
Good shepherd protects his sheep.
El buen pastor protege su rebaño.
Now you know why he said that.
Ahora sabes por qué él dijo eso.
It's very close history. It's very close history for them.
La historia es bien recién para ellos o bien cercano para ellos.
It's recent history. It's modern history for them.
Es historia moderna para ellos.
And Maccabeus, Judas says, why was I born to see this?
Macabeo, Judas Macabeo, dijo, ¿por qué yo nací para ver esto?
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 15 to 37.
Primera de Macabeos, capítulo 2, versículos 15 al 37.
So we're just going to read 17 and 18.
Vamos a leer solamente versículos 17 y 18.
No, we need 15 to 18.
Vamos a leer, corrección, vamos a leer del 15 al 18.
The king's officer who were enforcing the apostasy came to the town of Modin to make them offer sacrifices. Many of Israel came to them, and Mattathias his son and his sons were assembled. Then the leader of the king's officer, this is the pagan, spoke to Mattathias as follows: "You are a leader, honored and great in this town, and supported by sons and brothers. Now, be the first to come and do what the king commands, as all the Gentiles and the people of Yehuda and those that are left in Jerusalem have done. Then you and your sons will be numbered among the friends of the king. And you and your sons will be honored with silver and gold and many gifts." So you see what's happening.
¿Ves lo que está sucediendo?
Just do a little pagan worship.
Un poco de adoración pagana.
Then we'll honor you with
Entonces-
silver and gold.
Entonces te honraremos con oro y plata.
So the other Jews were doing it,
Los otros judíos lo estaban haciendo.
and then the leader comes to Mattathias and says, "You do it.
Y el líder viene a donde Matatías y dice, tú hazlo.
I'm really not praying to that God. God knows what's in my heart."
Yo en verdad no voy a rezarle a ese Dios. Dios sabe lo que está en mi corazón.
I'm not really bowing to the Christmas tree.
Yo en verdad no me estoy postrando al árbol de Navidad. Dios, mi corazón.
God knows what's in my heart.
Dios sabe lo que está en mi corazón.
Next slide.
Próxima diapositiva.
Verse 19
Vamos al versículo 19
through 23.
al 23.
19 through 23.
Versículos 19 al 23.
But Mattathias answered and said in a loud voice, "Even if all the nations that live under the rule of the king obey him, and have chosen to obey his commandments, every one of them abandoning the religion of their ancestors, I and my sons and my brothers will continue to live by the covenant of our ancestors. Far be it from us to desert the law and the ordinance. We will not obey the king's words by turning aside from our religion to the right hand or to the left." When he had finished speaking the words, a Jew came forward in the sight of all to offer sacrifices on the altar in Modin, according to the king's command. Okay? So now he says, I'm going to stand for the Torah.
Ahora aquí él está diciendo que él se va a parar firme por la Torah.
What did Yeshua said
¿Qué fue lo que Yeshua dijo?
in John 10:17?
En Juan 10:17.
He was willing to lay down his life so the Father could raise him up.
Él estaba dispuesto a entregar su vida para que el Padre lo levantara.
But then in verse 23,
Pero en versículo 23,
a Jew comes and is willing to worship a pagan god in front of everybody.
que un judío viene dispuesto a adorar un Dios pagano delante de todos.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Now this is the key to Matthew 24,
Ahora, esta es la clave a Mateo 24,
where Yeshua says, "Run to the hills."
a donde Yeshua dice, corre hacia las montañas.
Why did he say that?
¿Por qué fue que él dijo esto?
Doesn't say that in the prophecies.
No dice eso en la profecía.
Well, it comes from Maccabees.
Viene de los Macabeos.
First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 4 to 29.
Primera Macabeos, capítulo 2, versículo 24 al 29.
When Mattathias saw it, he burned with zeal in his heart, was stirred, he gave vent to righteous anger. He ran and killed him on the altar. At the same time, he killed the king's officer who was forcing them to sacrifice. He tore down the altar. Thus, he burned with zeal for the law, just as Pincus did against Zimri, the son of Salul. Then Mattathias cried in the town with a loud voice, saying, "Let everyone who is zealous for the law and supports the covenant come out with me." Then he and his sons fled to the hills and left all that they had in town. At that time, many were seeking righteousness and justice, went down in the wilderness to live there. Oh, Yeshua was quoting this
Yeshua estaba citando esto
in Matthew 24.
en Mateo 24.
Let everybody, don't go get your stuff, come and run with me now.
No vayan y busquen sus propiedades. Vengan y corran conmigo ahora.
Then they fled to the hills.
Y huyeron hacia las montañas.
This is why you got to study it. I'm doing it quick tonight.
Lo estoy repasando ligeramente hoy.
But there's a detailed study on our website.
Pero hay un estudio en detalle en nuestro sitio web.
And I suggest everybody spend a lot of time looking at that one.
Y les sugiero a todos que miren ese estudio y que tomen su tiempo.
And then in 1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 32 to 33, 30 to 33.
Y en 1 Macabeos capítulo 2 versículos 30 al 33.
They, their sons, their wives, and their livestock, because of the troubles pressed heavily upon them, as reported to the king's officers and to the troops in Yerushalayim, the city of David, that those had rejected the king's command had gone down in the hiding place in the wilderness. In the wilderness. Many pursued them and overtook them. They encamped opposite them and prepared for battle against them. On the Shabbat day, they said to them, "Enough of this. Come out and do what the king commanded, and you will live." Oh, remember Yeshua said, pray that it doesn't happen in winter or on Shabbat?
Acuérdate que Yeshua dijo, oren que no suceda en el invierno o en Shabbat.
Oh, he's quoting this again.
Él está citando esto nuevamente.
So they knew where to find them.
Ellos sabían dónde encontrarlo.
But we're going to see what the Lord does
Vamos a ver lo que hace el Señor
with those that are standing with him,
con aquellos que se paran firmes con él,
who went to a hiding place and made it a holy place.
que se fueron a un lugar para esconderse y lo convirtieron en un lugar santo.
Probably like 115 acres or something like that.
Tal vez como 115 acres o algo así.
Or maybe 24 acres.
O tal vez 24 acres.
Or maybe a little hovel in Fairview, New Jersey. In a brick building.
O tal vez un edificio de ladrillos en Fairview, New Jersey.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Verse 34 to 37.
Versículos 34 al 37.
But they said, "We will not come out, nor will we do what the king commands, and so profane the Shabbat day." Then the enemy quickly attacked them. But they did not answer them, or hurl a stone at them, or block up their hiding places. For they said, "Let us die in our innocence. Heaven and earth testify for us that you're killing us unjustly." No.
No.
Somebody attacks us on the Shabbat,
Alguien nos ataca en Shabbat.
then it's time to break out the whooping stick.
Entonces es tiempo para el pugalú.
Lock and load, baby. But these people died because they're killing us unjustly.
Esta gente murieron porque lo están matando injustamente.
Torah gives you the ability to defend yourself,
La Torah te da la habilidad para defenderte,
even on the Shabbat.
hasta en el Shabbat.
We'll take questions at the end. Next slide.
Próxima diapositiva.
First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 42 to 48.
Primera de Macabeos, capítulo 2, versículos 42 al 48.
So then the Maccabees, they united with the company of Hasdians, mighty warriors of Israel, who offered themselves willingly for the law. And all became fugitives to escape their troubles, joined them and reinforced them. They organized an army and struck down sinners in their anger and renegades in their wrath. The survivors fled to the Gentiles for safety, and Mattathias and his friends went around and tore down the altars. They forcibly circumcised all the uncircumcised boys that they found within the borders of Israel. They hunted down the arrogant, and the work prospered in their hands. They rescued the law out of the hands of the Gentiles and the kings, and they never let the sinners gain the upper hand. So here, what happens?
Aquí, ¿qué sucede?
Is the Lord blesses those who are zealous for the law.
Es que el Señor bendice a aquellos que son celosos por la ley.
And he starts raising up the Maccabees.
Y empieza a levantar los macabeos.
And people start joining them.
Y la gente viene a ser parte de ellos.
Okay, now still the other army is a lot bigger.
La gente viene a unirse a ellos.
And the other army is a lot bigger.
Y el otro ejército es más grande.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Let's read 1 Maccabees chapter 2.
Vamos a leer Primera de Macabeos capítulo 2.
Verse 50 through 53.
Versículos
54.
50 al 54.
Now, my children, sow zeal for the law and give your lives for the covenant of our ancestors. Remember the deeds of our ancestors, which they did in their generations, and you will receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful when tested, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness? Joseph, in the time of the distress, the commandment became the Lord of Egypt. Pinchas, and our ancestors, because he was deeply zealous, received the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. And he goes on to talk about this.
Y él sigue, continúa hablando sobre esto.
Because there's an army that's coming at him.
Porque hay un ejército que viene hacia él.
And he's trying to convince the people to be zealous for God's law.
Y está tratando de convencerle al pueblo que sean celosos por la ley de Dios.
Because when you're zealous for God's law, you will kill the enemy.
Porque cuando eres celoso por la ley de Dios, matarás al enemigo.
Even though they might seem bigger,
aunque se vean más grande,
more powerful,
más poderoso,
better weapons.
Mejores armas.
And this is what was going on.
Y esto es lo que estaba ocurriendo.
But what did the Torah say?
¿Qué es lo que dice la Torah?
5 will chase 100.
5 perseguirán a 100.
100 will chase 10,000.
Y 100 a 10,000.
Well, that was what was happening here.
Eso es lo que estaba sucediendo aquí.
They were outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched. Pick 3 words.
¿Ah?
Pick.
Eran más,
outnumbered.
Sobrepasaron los números.
Outgunned.
Tenían más armas.
And the other army was much better trained.
Y el otro ejército era mejor entrenado.
But with God, all things are possible.
Pero con Dios todo es posible.
Let's go next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
1 Maccabees chapter 3.
Primera Macabeos capítulo 3.
Verse 10 through 12.
Versículos 10 al 12.
Apollonius now gathered together Gentiles in a large force from Samaria to fight against Israel. When Judas learned of it, he went out to meet him and defeated and killed him. Many were wounded and fell, and the rest fled. Then they seized their spoils, and Judas took the sword of Apollonius and used it in battle the rest of his life. Oh, sort of like David.
Casi como David.
So the Gentiles, the pagans, get a bigger army.
So los gentiles obtienen un ejército más grande.
Against a much smaller army of Torah observant Jews.
En contra un ejército más pequeño de judíos que son observantes de la Torah.
And what happens?
¿Y qué sucede?
Judas goes out to meet him with a much smaller army.
Judá va a encontrarse con él con un ejército más pequeño.
And with the Lord crushes Apollonius.
Y con el Señor vence a Apolonio.
And kills
Y
Apollonius.
lo mata.
But he had a much bigger force, Apollonius.
Pero Apolonio tenía una fuerza más grande.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 16 through 19.
Primera Macabeos capítulo 3, versículos 16 al 19.
So now another guy raises up, he brings even a bigger army.
So ahora otro se levanta y trae un ejército más grande.
And the Maccabees are a little bit bigger and the Hasdonians are a little bit bigger.
Los Macabeos son un poco más grandes y los Hasideos son un poco más grandes también.
When he approached the ascent of Beth Horon, Judas went out to meet him with a small company. But when they saw the army coming to meet them, they said to Judas, "How can we, few as we are, fight against so great and so strong a multitude? Aren't we faint? For we have eaten nothing today." Judas replied, "It's easy for many to be hemmed in by a few. For in this sight of heaven there is no difference between saving by many or by few. It is not on the size of the army that the victory in battle depends, but the strength comes from heaven."
Amén.
This is what we got to understand.
Esto es lo que tenemos que entender.
Now remember, the temple is not captured yet.
Acuérdate que el templo no fue capturado todavía.
Next slide.
Próxima diapositiva.
Now we go to 1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 27 to 31.
Ahora vamos a 1 Macabeos capítulo 3, versículos 27.
We're not going to read it for time purposes.
No lo vamos a leer por el tiempo.
But Antiochus is getting kind of mad that his generals are getting their butts kicked.
Antíoco se está enojando que sus generales están siendo vencidos.
So what he does is he gathers forces from all over his kingdom.
So, lo que él hace es que él reúne fuerzas de todo su reino
And he gave them a year's pay.
y le dio pago de un año.
He wants the Maccabees dead.
Él quiere que maten a los macabeos.
So he brings this huge army.
So, él trae este gran ejército.
Next slide.
Próxima diapositiva.
And in 1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 38 to 40,
En Primera Macabeos capítulo 3, versículo 38 al 40,
he brings 40,000 men, infantry.
él reúne 40,000 pelotones de hombres
And 7,000 cavalry.
y 7,000 calvarios,
47,000 troops.
40,000 tropas.
And then they went out and camped near Emmaus.
Y entonces salieron y se encamparon al lado de Emaús,
On the road to Emmaus,
en el camino a Emaús.
truth will be told.
La verdad será dicha.
On the road to Emmaus,
En el camino a Emaús,
truth will.
la verdad será dicha.
Sounds like a good slogan.
Suena como un buen, ¿cómo se dice slogan? Eslogan.
Slide.
La próxima diapositiva.
In the 1 Maccabees 3, verse 46 to 49.
En Primera Macabeos capítulo 3 del 46 al 49.
The Maccabees say, "Oh, we better fast and pray about this one."
Los macabeos dijeron debemos de ayunar y orar sobre este.
Now they have the priesthood back and they put the priest's garments on.
Ahora ellos se apoderaron del sacerdocio y se pusieron los vestimentos de los sacerdotes.
And they have Nazarites now
Y ahora tienen nazarenos.
because they're raising back up people that will follow the Torah.
Porque están levantando gente que van a respaldar la Torah.
Going on to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
So they beat that army,
So, ellos vencieron ese ejército
and now he brings another army.
y ahora él trae otro ejército.
And in 1 Maccabees chapter 4,
Y en Primera Macabeos capítulo 4,
He brings 5,000 infantry
Él trae 5,000 soldados
and 1,000 cavalry.
y 1,000 caballeros.
And he goes to Emmaus again.
Y él regresa a Emaús de nuevo.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
And then that force gets crushed.
Y entonces esas fuerzas derrotado.
And now the final battle.
Y ahora la batalla final.
First Maccabees chapter 4,
Primera Macabeos capítulo 4,
verse 26 to 35.
versículos 26 al 35.
That next year he brings a huge army.
Y el próximo año él trae tremendo ejército.
60,000 infantry
60,000 soldados
and 5,000 cavalry.
y 5,000 calvarios.
And Judas met them with only 10,000 men.
Y Judá se encontró con ellos solamente con 10,000 hombres.
65,000 verse 10.
65,000 en contra de 10,000.
That's 6.5 to 1.
Eso es 6.5 en contra de 1.
How many nations came against Israel in her independence?
¿Cuántas naciones vinieron en contra de Israel en su independencia?
6 nations.
6 naciones.
Think.
Bastantemente interesante, ¿no?
Okay, so he beats these 65,000 men.
So, él vence los 65,000 hombres.
Let's go to the next slide.
Vamos a la próxima diapositiva.
Let's skip that slide.
Vamos a saltar sobre eso.
So let's get to now what happens why we're celebrating Hanukkah.
Vamos a ver ahora por qué estamos celebrando Hanukkah, la infantería.
This happens in 1 Maccabees chapter 4,
Esto ocurre en 1 Macabeos capítulo 4,
verse 36 to 42.
versículos 36 al 42.
Then Judas and his brothers said, "See, our enemies are crushed. Let us go up to cleanse the sanctuary and dedicate it, Hanukkah." So all the army assembled and went up to Mount Zion. There they saw the sanctuary desolate, the altar profaned, the gates burned, and the courts. They saw a brush sprung up in the thicket, whereas one of the mountains. They also saw the chambers. They saw also the chambers of the priests in ruins. They tore their clothes and mourned with great lamentation. They sprinkled themselves with ashes, 40, and fell down on their face in the ground. And when the signal was given with trumpets, they cried out to heaven. Then Judas detailed men to fight against those in the citadel until he had cleansed the sanctuary. He chose blameless priests devoted to the law. Next slide.
Próxima diapositiva.
And they cleansed the sanctuary, removed the defiled stones to an unclean place. They deliberated what to do about the altar of the burnt offering, which has been profaned. And they thought it best to tear it down. It would not be a lasting shame to them and the Gentiles. Had defiled it. So they tore down the altar and stored up the stones in a convenient place on the temple hill until the prophet should tell them what to do with them. Then they took unhewed stones, as the law directs, and built a new altar like the former one. They also rebuilt the sanctuary and the interior of the temple and consecrated the course. They made new holy vessels and brought the lampstand and the altar of incense and the table into the temple. Then they offered incense on the altar and lit lamps, the lampstand, and gave it light to the temple. They placed the bread on the table and hung the curtains. Thus they finished all the work they had undertaken. Next slide.
Próxima diapositiva.
Early in the morning on the 25th day of the 9th month, which will be Sunday evening, which is the month of Kislev in the 148th year, they rose and offered sacrifices the law directs on the new altar of burnt offering that they had built. The very season, the very day the Gentiles had profaned it, it was dedicated with songs, harps, lutes, and cymbals. All the people fell on their faces and worshiped and blessed heaven who would prosper them. So they celebrated the dedication of the altar 8 days, and joyfully offered burnt offerings and offered sacrifices, well-being and thanksgiving offering. They decorated the front of the temple with golden crowns and small shields, and restored the gates and the chambers of the priests, and fitted them with doors. There was very great joy among the people, and disgrace brought by the Gentiles was removed. Thus Judas and his brothers, and all the assembly of Israel, determined that every year in the season of the days of dedication of the altar should be observed with joy and gladness for 8 days, beginning with the 25th day of the month of Kislev. So you see, everybody,
So ves todos
it doesn't have anything to do with oil.
que no tiene nada que ver con el aceite.
It has everything to do with the dedication of the altar.
Tiene todo que ver con la dedicación del altar.
That concludes our reading of Maccabees today.
Eso concluye nuestra lectura del libro de Macabeos hoy día.
And if you're going to celebrate Hanukkah, celebrate it the right way.
Y si vas a celebrar Hanukkah, celébrenlo de la manera correcta.
Rededicating your temple
Rededicando tu templo
to Him.
a Él.
Get out the stuff of your life that doesn't belong there.
Saquen las cosas de tu vida que no pertenecen.
That's what Hanukkah is about.
De eso es lo que se trata Hanukkah.
Running to the hills,
Corriendo hacia las montañas.
dedicating your life,
Dedicando tu vida.
standing for Yeshua and the law.
Parándote firme para Yeshua y la ley.
And then God will give everything into your hands.
Y después Dios entregará todo en tus manos.
But it is sad
Pero es triste
that after the Maccabees died,
que después que murieron los macabeos,
the people went right back to doing what they used to do.
el pueblo regresó a hacer lo que hacían antes.
All right, we're going to wrap in prayer.
Ok, vamos a terminar con oración.
Thank you, Lord, for this blessing. Thank you, Lord, for your blessing of this truth that we heard tonight. Let us learn how to rededicate our own lives and stand with your truths, no matter what it costs us. Because you said, you bless the shepherd that lays down his own life for you, and you'll raise us up. Let us understand what Hanukkah really is about. It's about a dedication of truth. In your name, Yeshua, and everybody said, Amen. Shalom, Havarim.
Shalom, this is Messianic Rabbi Andrew Dinnerman. I would personally like to thank you for tuning in to the Remnant's Call each and every week. You can listen to the full message on our website, bethgoyim.org. If you have drawn closer to the King of Kings, learned more about Him today, we are blessed. If you are blessed by these messages, please consider a donation to our ministry. You can go to our website, bethgoyim.org. That's BETHGOYIM.org. And click on the donate button. You do not have to have a PayPal account to donate. All you need is a debit card. Once again, thank you very much for listening to The Remnant's Call.
If you have not taken your first steps to be born again, just ask God's help. Remember, it's His loving grace that has come to find you. No one is worthy or able to reach God, but God can reach us, and He's reaching out to you now. Just open your heart and let Him in. His arms are open, and the blessing of salvation and eternal life are waiting for you. Don't let it wait any longer.
Ya Adonai, panavoleka vikuneka. Yisa Adonai, panavoleka vayasem lecha shalom. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord lift His face to shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious unto you and give you His shalom.
Shalom. My name is Messianic Rabbi Andrew Dinnerman, and I invite you to come to visit our congregation. If you are in the tri-state area, come out and visit with us on Shabbat. We are a congregation of Jews and Gentiles, living as one in the Messiah Yeshua. Bgmc is a place of true worship. The focus never wanders from the Hebraic roots of our faith. Beth Goyim is rooted in the Word of God from Bereshit through to the book of Revelation. Messiah's strong words against man-made tradition are carefully recorded in Matthew 7. That is the reason we only follow the straight-up instructions found in Scripture, truly the way, the truth, and the life. If you're looking for a deeper walk with Adonai, come out for our Tuesday evening Bible study called Messianic Torah Time. Come, spend a day with us on any Shabbat. We start at 11 a.m. with the sound of the ancient Hebrew shofar. Next, we offer our King praise and worship in English, Hebrew, and Spanish. After worship, we review the headlines in the previous week's news from around the globe, especially news from the Holy Land, Israel. We don't just list the news headlines as current events, but we comb through the scriptures, searching for clues to understand what they mean and then to help pinpoint prophetically our current position on Adonai's clock. After digesting all that modern information, we leave the world behind as we journey with our Adonai deep into his eternal word, not with just 1 or 2 scriptures, but usually 7 or more scriptures. The spiritual nourishment and the richness of his kingdom become accessible to the ones who share this special time and seek them out. The day does not end there. Because Shabbat is so special to him, there is always so much more that our King desires to share. So instead of separating and leaving, we stay together as a family for potluck lunch and an afternoon study of our King's Word. We close the Shabbat together with the reading of the new week's parashah. That's the Torah portion. Even after those blessings, many of us just can't get enough. So the members bring prepared homemade foods to share while we all enjoy an uplifting movie together. If all that information is not quite enough, you can check out our website where you will find over 200 video teachings and biblical holy day studies. Under Messianic Torah Time, the Hebrew Roots button, you'll discover free studies on many different topics, including PowerPoint slide presentations. If Beth Goyim sounds like a place you'd love to visit, but you live outside the tri-state area, there is still a way to connect with us. We stream live on the internet on Tuesday, Thursday, and Shabbat. The website is www.bethgoyim.org. That's BETHGOYIM.org. Our phone number is 973-338-7800 or 978-2-YESHUA. That's 978, the number 2, Yeshua. Shalom.